You may recognize her from the hit show Shark Tank. What you may not know is that this super successful real estate mogul has been personally affected by Alzheimer's disease. Her mom suffered from it. I had the chance to talk with Barbara Corcoran about the disease and what she wants to share with others.
Went to a doctor a year ago to convince I had it, and he said no. That was good news, at least.
It is scary. I sometimes forget things and I think, am I showing signs of early Alzheimer's? Because
Everybody's the same way. They all think the worst right away. Yep.
Well, let's talk about your mom and the message you want to get out today. You wanted to talk specifically about agitation and Alzheimer's.
Yes.
That's got to be one of the hardest things I would imagine to deal with when a
Yes, because I have found that people who are dealing with people who have Alzheimer's, about half of the people living with Alzheimer's show signs of agitation, Alzheimer's, dementia, and people don't know it. Whoever's doing the caregiving just don't even realize there are signs. They just think it's the continuation of Alzheimer's, and they're mistaken. I can't say that my mother wasn't agitated of her forgetfulness in the beginning, like impatient with herself, but not that kind of agitation. She was really agitated. It's almost like an aggressive behavior. She had the restlessness, the verbal aggression, the physical aggression, and that was not part of my mother's being at all. It would have made such a difference if we had noted the changes, said, that's not mom. That's nothing like mom. Let's talk to a doctor and ask if there's any other things we could do for her, help manage her behavior in some way. But we never did because we just thought, well, that's Alzheimer's.
What is your advice then for people who are have a family member who are living with this disease?
I think people have to be informed about the potential that the patient has something else. I think they have to visit good websites that are chock full of information. The website that we're saying here is a good website, which is so chock full, is recognizealzheimersagitation.com. The reason why that's important is when you have the knowledge, you know what to look for. When you have the knowledge, it lessens your guilt a little bit, because people caring for Alzheimer's patients always feel guilty. That's what I learned in the long journey. Everybody in my family felt guilty because we felt we weren't doing enough. If you know all the knowledge out there, you know you're doing everything that you can do. The other thing that we learned, and no small thing, it made a big difference in the last 5 or 6 years of her life, is we decided never to differ with my mother again. When she would ask us a question, we would never say, we told you, Mom, we just told you. We regularly did that as siblings, we just told you. Her name's Mary. You just met her yesterday. She's your best friend. Don't you remember her? That was the tone in which we took. And my mother always felt a sense of shame over not being able to remember. We switched our gears and we went right over to her side of the equation and decided to live in her world. So we never again said, I told you so. We never again told her my father had died 5 years ago and she had to go through the remorse again and again. We never did. We just said, Dad's down, warming up the car. And she bought it, so she was fine. She said, okay. We never again told her there wasn't a snake under her bed and she couldn't sleep. We used to show her under the bed and show her there's no snake. It didn't make a difference. In her mind, there was a snake. So we used to kill the snake. But making that transition over to the other side of the fence made us so much more compassionate, made us able to communicate with her, and actually, in our own private way, enjoy our company with our own mother while she was going to her death. Really made a huge difference. And I think that is the most important behavior to learn. If you're a caregiver, just don't ever differ with them. I was at Bloomingdale's a few weeks ago, and there was an older woman going up an escalator with a woman who was about 40 or so, and I overheard her say, Mom, I told you we're going up. Mom, I already told you. And I don't know what she was already telling her. I wanted to really pull the lady aside and give her a piece of my mind on what to do differently. I could see the shame in her mother, like cowering a little bit. And that's very often the way people deal with the situation, because they're tired, they're alone, they've been at it too long.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your story.
My pleasure. Well, not my pleasure, but I'm happy I'm here.
No, I know. I'm sorry that you had to endure that, but
yes,
sharing all of the information that you learned, hopefully you're helping some others going forward.
Don't worry about if you lose your keys today.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara.
Okay, bye-bye.